All right, the last thing I want to talk about is how to export. Now, this is gonna, in 427, at least my class, we did specifically web-based export, in this class, we're specifically exporting for the Oculus Quest. Okay. So we'll get into how to export. So I'm just going to use my exercise, my in my scenes here. I'm just going to use my scene 9, which is basically this. And let's say I'm going to export this. Okay. So this is kind of like, sorry, I got too many things going on here. This is kind of like when, this is kind of like when you work in Premiere Pro, or maybe if you've ever used Adobe Animate. It's like you can't keep it in the default format, which is because most people don't have that application, and that particular file only works in that application. So you have to transfer it to like a movie file or something like that. That's kind of like this. Unity has its own base file, which is the .unity file, but it only works in Unity, and most people don't have Unity installed on their system. So we have to export it as a to a platform that more people can interact with. Okay. So I got, here's my thing, and I want to this is how we're gonna make my game, or my world. And what I'm gonna do is, once again, we're gonna go back under build profile. And first thing you should double check is your scene list. Okay, these are all the scenes that I want to include. And then what I'm going to do is these are the various platforms I could output to. So for instance, there's Mac OS X. If I were to output towards that, that would be for like that would be an application literally on your desktop. So I actually already did this. So hopefully, I don't know if this will work, but I already outputted this. All right, so you can see I'm moving around. Okay. I have to literally, I didn't make a close button, so I gotta like literally force quit that. So that's one way. I could also output this as an APK file. Okay. Um, this is an Android file. And so this is actually what we're going to be doing a lot of, is outputting this to an APK file. That's the kind of file that actually your Oculus Quest actually runs Android. It's also, if you have an Android phone, like a Samsung, or basically anything that's not a Apple phone, like an iPhone, this is the format that you would output to. You can also output it to web. Okay. Now, if currently I'm set to Android, let's say I wanted to switch it back to web, what I could do is click on that and then hit the switch platform. And what that'll do is basically set up the files so that it's outputting towards the correct format. Just to kind of point some other ones here, I could output to Windows, so it works on the Windows operating system. If you are outputting to some of these, you may have to download some additional packages, which means installing some additional code. I could output to Linux, which is another operating system. Um, iOS would mean that you could run it on an Apple phone. For this to work, you would have to set up okay, if you're not going to sideload it, which is a whole other thing, you would have to set up a licensing, or not a license, but a developer's agreement with Apple, which does cost money. It's not free, just so you're aware, but you could do it. tvOS is for the Apple TV operating system. And then Vision OS is for the Apple Vision, which is their VR program. Okay. So I actually already did this for web. What you would do is you would want to click on build. And these are my results for the web version of it. I get a bunch of files. These are meant to work through a browser. So hopefully this will work. I should have probably tested it before, but we'll see. So I'm gonna add this rollerball. And so I could actually upload this to a server, like a, 00 web host or, Infinity Free or something like that. I'm going to run this through live server. Oops, I'm running that through here. Let's try that again. Open with live server. Okay. I forgot to turn on the developmental build, but it should work. It's not working because it's not currently on a actual server, but I could fix that. But anyway, that's how that would work. Okay. So, in this class, we are specifically outputting for now to an APK file, an Android file. If you wanted to build something that didn't necessarily do that, you could output towards a Mac OS X or Windows if you want to do that, or to Android, or if you're willing to pay the developer license, you could do iOS or tvOS or something like that. And that's basically how you do it. So, make sure your scenes are set up. Like I said, we will be working with Android. I'm not going to do this today, but when we start outputting towards, for Unity worlds for the Oculus, there are some settings we're going to have to set up. I don't want to talk about that now, but we will talk about how to properly output that. Okay.